Okay.
Welcome to another edition of Hitting Left with the Klonsky brothers. I'm Mike Klonsky.
And this is Fred Klonsky.
Okay.
Is that what we're doing?
Yeah, we just did it. And we're coming at you on Lumpin' Radio, WLPN 105.5 FM. We're both sitting in our homes doing social distancing and all that other good stuff. What did I announce our call and letters? Okay.
Yeah,
and
you're good to go.
All right.
This is all new to us. We're trying to do this show using like everybody else is these days, using Zoom, and we look like network television where everybody's doing. I saw Jimmy Fallon last night doing the whole show from his living room.
I love his house, especially that slide he has from the second floor to the basement, where the kids can slide down. I'm thinking about doing that here.
But you only live on one floor.
Oh no, we can go down to the kids' apartment, and which we've been running up and down anyway. We've been fortunate enough during this crisis to have the kids and granddaughter Izzy, our 3-year-old, with us, and so that's been saving me. I mean, that's bringing joy to my life in these tough times. And the other thing is, what the problem is that my internet has been lost. That's why one of the reasons why we're doing this on our phones. I got a guy coming over today from Comcast, but that's my lifeline.
Not Comcast.
Yeah, I got a guy coming over from Comcast, but he can't come in the house, so he has to work on the outside lines, and I have to do the installation of our new modem myself. So if you never hear from me, that'd be the reason
maybe our
why.
last show is that, or it's going to be Hitting Left with one Klonsky brother.
Yeah, well, one of the kids can take my place. All right. I think their internet is still working.
Yeah. Before we get started.
Wait. I want to say one thing first.
Yeah.
We have a guest today in the second half of our show, the great Avery R. Young, who's going to be he'll be talking to us and doing a little poetry and some music too. And so we hope his computer's working okay, because everybody's having problems doing Zoom and that kind of stuff. So hopefully it'll work out. But anyway, that'll run. The
second half.
We're taping this early. Yeah, that'll run the second half.
Yeah,
so stay with us at the break.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is actually doing this on a Tuesday. It'll be broadcast later in the week, but so there'll be news between now and that we're obviously not going to. We can't tell the future. I did want to take note for a minute about
and back up a little, Fred.
What's that? Say what?
Back up.
Oh, man, too close?
Back up a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I did want to, the horrible thing about the COVID and all is that all of us are losing, or have friends who are sick and who are also losing. We have two people that I just wanted to mention that as of today, John Prine is in the hospital, and the news from his wife last night, at least, was that his condition had stabilized and he was doing better. And I wanted to been listening to his music since his first album back in 1971, 50 years of John Prine. So I know you join me in wishing him well. And our old friend Reverend Slim Coleman is in the hospital, and is we hear struggling with the virus, and we wish him well.
Of course, and you still have to back up a little, Fred, because your top of your head is cut off.
Well, which takes a tip. Okay.
Yeah, which could be a good thing, whichever lobe that is.
That is the least interesting part of my body.
And it's cutting down the glare a little bit, but I still like you better when we can see the whole body. and then there's Gordon Quinn, also hospitalized, the co-founder of Cartemquin Films, great filmmaker, and one of the heroes of our movement here in Chicago. So yeah, we got a lot of people falling, but hopefully they'll recover.
And we know that there are other people out there who have family and friends that are also in a similar situation. And I know you join me in wishing them all to get better and survive
Yeah,
this horrible
the
virus.
the numbers here in Chicago are terrible. They're doubling every 2 or 3 days. And on a positive note, the mayor and governor have just opened up I think a 3,000 bed hospital in McCormick Place, which is amazing when you think about 3,000 beds. The fact that we need that here. We don't have enough equipment. We don't have enough masks. Our governor and mayor have been, outspoken and showing, actually, they've both been showing great leadership in this thing, and taking on Trump, who seems to be unwilling to give the states what they need, unless the governors cozy up to him or something. If he doesn't like the governor of the state is out of luck in terms of getting masks and respirators and things like that. So I mean, this White House is full of maniacs who are willing to sacrifice thousands of lives in order to score some political points.
Well, the notion that struck me this last week is all the years that those of us who worked in the public sector. For me, it was teaching in a public school, but for others who worked in government in different ways, kept being lectured to by the corporatists and the right wing that these things ought to be run like a business. And here we have the quintessential businessman running this fight against COVID, and is either stupid or incompetent or intentional. I'm not sure which is worse, but just yesterday it was reported that thousands of masks that were sent to Illinois by the federal government were all the wrong ones and had to be sent back. And respirators that were sent to California don't work. And it's just one level of Trump incompetency on top of another.
Well, not only that, he claims that masks by the thousands have been ripped off, or he calls it disappearing out the back door. He can't believe that the states need so many masks, and he's saying, well, I've sent you so many, somebody must be stealing them. He's like accusing the frontline workers of ripping off thousands of masks.
Oh, that's how he responded to the governors yesterday. He said, masks, do we still need masks? That was his quote from yesterday.
Yeah. And the other thing about I don't want to dwell too long on Trump, but I must say the thing that repulsed me the most yesterday was his bragging about his TV ratings and claiming that his press conferences were rating as high as Monday Night Football, which I thought was kind of funny in a way. I mean, nobody's watching Monday Night Football, but the thing is, he equates high ratings on his press conference with approval, and in fact, it's been just the opposite. As his press ratings have gone up, his approval ratings are tumbling. I think they've dropped something like 11 or 12 points in the last week, and that brings us to another question, another issue. Really, is we're forgetting, and maybe rightfully so, that this is an election year, and that
we hope it's an election year. I guess one of my fears is that we saw in Hungary yesterday where the head of state simply used the spread of the coronavirus as Hungary was not exactly your example of the most democratic country in the world, but these fascists are using this crisis as a means to grab even more power than they had had before. And so one wonders, and with some fear that come November whether there'll be an election at all.
Yeah, so that's a good point. They're kind of chewing up democracy, taking advantage of a crisis, which, again, is nothing new. I mean, we remember that same thing happened, not on this scale maybe, but after Katrina, and even after the recession of 2008, and after 9/11. So we saw this, this power grabbing. But part of that reminds us that we shouldn't place everything on elections, that we can build a movement that doesn't allow them to do the things that they want to do. And if we have the people organized and in the streets when necessary, of course that's tough these days, but even virtually, we can stop them, and we have stopped him from doing a lot of the things that he wants to do. We've also undercut a lot of his baloney about the coronavirus. Every time he says some ridiculous thing, we got a broad united front criticizing him, including the top doctors in the land. And,
well, that's what I was saying. I think to me, I think one of the reasons why his afternoon press briefings are getting good ratings is that most people are turning in to hear Dr. Anthony Fauci give them some facts and some science. I'm not sure that I'm not convinced that his ratings are due to his star power as a TV personality.
Yeah. So, but that brings up another question. Whether let's figure that there will be an election. The governors and mayors who've been taking him on, like Cuomo and Pritzker and Newsom out in California, they're not running against him, but they've been leading the fight. The guy who's running against him, Joe Biden, has disappeared, virtually disappeared. He does a few tapings from his basement, but
nobody's watching.
Nobody's watching, and he's not acting like a candidate. He's conciliatory. In fact, some of his advisors have warned us that the mood of the country for criticism of the president isn't there right now, and there's leaders in the Democratic Party who want us to back off of Trump, and I find the mood just the opposite.
Let me suggest a scenario to you and see what you think about it, and that is that it doesn't seem right now as if Bernie Sanders is going to get nominated. Whether he takes it all the way to the convention or not is up to him, obviously. But he doesn't seem to be in a good position.
He's frozen out.
Joe Biden, I think more and more is being seen as an embarrassment to the Democratic Party and to the leaders of the DNC, and so I'm kind of wondering if they're planning a bait and switch, and that at some point Biden will be replaced by somebody else. Do you see that happening?
I don't. I don't think that's possible. I just don't think it's possible. It would be the same thing as Trump canceling the elections. I mean, basically, Biden is been elected or being elected by the people up to this point. I mean, primary elections are probably going to be canceled, but up until this point, he's the obvious choice. I think the voters made a bad choice, but it's their choice, and so I think we have to ride Biden and try to. I don't know what to do about that. He seems to be running even in the polls right now with Trump.
Even a little bit, yeah.
But Trump is controlling the national media. So I think we're counting on Trump to lose this thing.
Well, my concern is I think the DNC is counting on Trump to lose this thing. That
Yeah.
that he'll fall on his own, and that nothing else needs to be said about it.
Yeah, that's certainly true with certainly some of the people, especially some of Biden's top advisors. So it's almost like it's their game to lose. Um, so it's a terrible situation, and we know that even in terms of the coronavirus, if Trump is in the White House for another 4 years, I mean, the world is in great danger. This thing isn't going away. It may ebb a little bit during the summer months, but in the fall, it's going to come right back in a second wave. And hopefully, we're going to be better prepared. But we're not going to have the leadership in terms of the White House. That's for sure. We're going to have to be countering almost every move that they make. And that brings up an issue that's really not so much in the hands of the federal government, which is the condition of prisoners. Of course, we have many prisoners in our federal prisons, and we have to demand now that many of them be released, especially the elderly, the prisoners who have basically done their time, prisoners who are waiting for, who haven't been really convicted of anything yet, but who are in prison awaiting trial. We've got to get them out of those prisons because the prisons have become a hothouse for corona. Now, hundreds of prisoners are dying, thousands are getting sick. There's no sanitary conditions. There's no room to do distancing, and so this is potentially a source of increased hospitalizations, guards getting sick, spreading the disease to families and communities. And so once again, we're putting out the call to let people go, let them go. And I would say we need to find alternatives, which I've always felt even before the virus hit. We got to find alternatives to the penal system that we have, the most over penalized population in the world. I think it's like 2.5 million people now behind bars or in the process of being incarcerated. So we've got to decarcerate. Did I say the term right? Yeah, it's a new term I just learned.
It's a new,
decarcerate.
but it's not a new idea, right? We keep saying that all these fault lines that we see exposed by the coronavirus are all things that were there all along, and this is just exacerbated it. There was an interesting, in addition to the question of jails and prisons, there was an article in the San Francisco Chronicle I read this morning about the captain of a nuclear aircraft carrier with more than 100 sailors infected on board with the virus, and the captain, Captain Crozier, he said, "War is not imminent. We have to get these people, get our guys off. We recommend," he calls it, "pursuing a peacetime end state." And I thought that was just fascinating. The idea we're not at war. Why? And these guys are on ships all over the world, and are in countries all over the world in close quarters, and where the virus is affecting them in what allegedly is a peacetime. Certainly, Trump's been trumpeting the idea that he wants to bring all these troops home. They need to get off these boats and off these ships and into safe quarters.
It's kind of an interesting point that you're raising. The virus has forced us to do things that we should have been doing anyway. Not only bringing troops home or demilitarizing, and if anything, using the troops for taking care of people and delivering medical stuff, medical equipment, and etc. But also here domestically, we're implementing policies that we've been demanding all along. Health care for everybody, uh, 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 better working conditions for workers. Workers are going out on strike today at Instacart. They're having a sick out. Amazon, Whole Foods, all the main delivery companies. Workers are rising up and demanding a fair shake and protection, and they're winning because without them, everything comes to a stop. So they're also talking about increased pay and one of the unintended consequences of of this disease is that there's social reforms being demanded, and people are getting organized to fight for them, and they're winning different battles. So I don't say that it's a bright situation by any means, but I've also seen that the environment has improved as all this industrial waste has stopped polluting the air. So there's
also make sure that the relief efforts go to those who are in need, and not, as we've seen in this last bailout bill, where really millions and millions of dollars are going to companies like Boeing that were in bad shape to begin with and are using this crisis to save themselves.
Yeah, or the ship lines, the cruise lines,
yeah.
which are just sailing vectors for corona, and why anybody would book a ticket on a cruise ship now, it's just amazing to me. Anyway, let's hope that people take here in Chicago take our Mayor Lightfoot's warning seriously. She's been all over the media, and she's been kind of like the enforcer, which I really like what she's been doing. Great funny ads.
People have been making one that she applauds, making these funny memes of her standing guard over the public places to make sure people are staying at home.
Yeah, and one of her ads I really loved, which is she said she's about to shoot a shot into her little basket in her kitchen, and she says, "If I make this shot, you have to stay home and be safe." And then she dunks a piece of paper or something like that.
Yeah, she set that hoop up, I think, a little low, is from what I can.
But it's very funny ads. But the thing is, she and Pritzker they dominate the newspaper today. If you look at it, there's not a word about Trump. So while his ratings on his pressers may be good, locally, nobody's interested in what he has to say. People are looking locally for solutions. They're getting organized, and this is the pathway out of this crisis.
Well, let's hope they're interested in what we have to say, and join us next Friday. Stay tuned for the second half with Avery, and we'll be back.
Great segue, Fred.
Yeah,
and we're going to go out. We're going to. We have. Do we have our music? Well, we'll see.
We'll see.
I can. All right.
Okay. Anyway, stay tuned, and we'll be back.